everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante Roadshow. We're not in the studio, but thank you for supporting what we do here. We've had great shows. We were just at the Zanies in Rosemont, just outside of Chicago. Thank you to everybody who came out to that show. We got a lot of tour dates coming up. April 28th, we're headlining Flappers in Burbank. The 29th and 30th, we're in Ventura. And Rob Placone and I now are back on the road together. July 28th, Portland, July 29th, Seattle, July 30th, Vancouver, Canada. So check that out. A great way to support our show is to do what Tim Stack has done. Tim has been supporting our show from day one. Very much appreciated, Tim. And at the $5 level, you can submit articles like this. I like covering stuff like this because there's the news about the climate is pretty dire. You know, I covered about a week or so ago the new IPCC report that says we're on borrowed time, but I like covering positive stories like this because what it shows is that there's solutions already out there. It's not like we have to wait for some magical invention. There's already solutions out there. We just need to put real money behind them. It's that simple. So I wanted to get into this. Why seaweed is a natural fit for replacing certain plastics. 5 out of 8 finalists for a $1 million sustainability prize floated algae as an alternative for plastic film. Now, I just want to say, you might be asking, well, what does this matter? Plastics are one of the biggest problems we have. There are currently 5 islands of floating garbage in all 5 of the world's oceans. And it's hard to get away from. I mean, I go on the road and, I have to go out to eat or whatever, and it's in a plastic wrapper. And this plastic is everywhere. And some people have also brought up Snork Y2K. We had him on the show a couple of years ago, and he brought up like medical supplies have to be wrapped in plastic so that they're sterile. There's legitimate. We don't need all this plastic wrapping. I mean, I'm a kid. When I was a kid in the 70s, we had wax paper for our sandwiches. We had thermoses. Everything wasn't a single-use plastic. So single-use plastic is a horrible thing. It's a horrible invention. Plastic is made from petroleum, so it's just bad. The fossil fuel industry obviously pushed it. But that's why this is significant, because we could find an alternative, and looks like here is an alternative, so that we wouldn't have to use all these petroleum-based plastics. And if it's based from algae wrapping, then that's got to be compostable. Plastic film can be a menace to the environment. The super thin material that makes up baggies and shrink wrap has proven to be one of the trickier plastics to recycle, and often ends up festering in landfills or in the ocean. And when humans go through hundreds of billions of plastic bags each year globally, that can make for a gigantic problem. So it calls for an equally gigantic solution. Just this week, American fashion company Tim Ford announced the finalists for a $1.2 million Plastic Innovation Prize. Out of 64 applicants spanning 6 continents, 8 were selected to material test their concepts for plastic alternatives. After a year, 3 winners will be chosen. One of the 8 finalists, let's get down to this part. Out of the 8 finalists, 5 make bioplastic or plastic film alternatives out of seaweed, kelp, or another algae. Now, we've talked about this again. I've shown you how algae, we found out a couple of years ago, and I did a video on it, there's a way for algae to capture CO2. So again, these solutions are out there. There's already compostable plastics in terms of like hard plastic, right? Like plastic forks, and we've seen compostable plastic, glasses. I've seen them at restaurants or whatever, and they give you a to-go cup, and it's like compostable plastic, which is great. But the plastic wrapping that they're talking about, this is the toughest thing to recycle. And the wrapping, I can tell you this, having done dozens of beach cleanups for the Surfrider Foundation and some other organizations, little pieces of plastic are some of the most dangerous stuff for the oceans, because marine animals, birds, fish, whatever, see this thing floating. It looks like it's something that they can eat, and they eat it, and it stays in their stomach, and their bodies don't digest it. So what happens is their stomach literally fills up with plastic, and it tells their brain, oh, you don't need to eat anymore, and they starve to death. And if you cut open the stomach of just about any dead marine animal, they're going to have some type of undigested plastic in there. So again, if we make this stuff out of, as we just showed, kelp, algae, seaweed, eventually it'll decompose. Plastic doesn't decompose for like 1,000 years or whatever. So competitors from UK included Kelpie, which makes compostable and low carbon bioplastic packaging, and Not Playa, which creates natural membrane packaging that was used in water pouches for London Marathon runners in 2019. So they've already tested it out there, right? Zero Circle, based in Garagan, India, turns local seaweed into dissolvable, ocean-safe packaging. Sway, based out of Berkeley, California, also works with seaweed for a home compostable thin film plastic alternative. Finally, Maria in Iceland uses local algae to design yet another biofilm alternative that fully degrades in the environment. The journey from a slimy green plant to plastic-like material can be a stretch for the imagination, but it's a shockingly simple concept, explains Mike Allen, lead scientist at Blue Microbe, a marine bioscience group based in the UK, and associate professor of single-cell genomics at the University of Exeter. Plastic manufacturing requires stringing basic building blocks of chemistry into different polymers. Those building blocks, Allen says, can come from most anything. In traditional plastics, they're typically the result of crude oil that's extracted from the ground, refined into polymers, and formed into a clear, durable resin. The same process applies to seaweed, Allen explains. I just got to say this right now. I mean, that's amazing. I didn't even know, like, just knowing the process of making plastic, I don't know that. Just to see that and how they're making it is amazing to me. And the thing about algae, it's called seaweed for a reason. It just grows like a weed. It's everywhere. So you could create seaweed farms, harvest it. It's like hemp, right? So because it's I'm sure there's a legitimate question. Well, if we just pull all the seaweed out of the ocean, is that a good thing? Well, no, you wouldn't just, obviously, I'm assuming if you're going to make sustainable plastics, you're going to do sustainable farming. But seaweed grows very rapidly, right? So, I mean, I know, stuff like this gets me excited because I see hope. The plant can be whittled down to its carbons and sugars and then chemically shaped into building blocks. Once the bonds that hold the plant together are broken down, you get similar biobricks, essentially, Allen says. These biobricks can then be used to make an entirely new product. The cool thing about turning seaweed into industrial materials is there are assets in the natural qualities too. Therefore, re-engineering all of the way the traditional plastics isn't always necessary. The really clever bioplastics, the biodegradable ones, are going less along that scale. They aren't breaking down as much and are retaining some of their properties like hydrophobicity and permeability. Some of them are biologically active. They have sort of antimicrobial things like that, which are very different to traditional plastics. Retaining some of these characteristics can help plastic alternatives break down faster, maintain edibility, and resist bacteria. All 5 algae-based finalists in the competition are designed to decompose and biodegrade. Natopia, for example, breaks down in home compost in about 10 days. Meanwhile, Zero Circle's founder and director, Nia Jain, says its alternative can break down in marine environments in a matter of hours, depending on the temperature of the water. Seaweed is also incredibly bountiful, appearing pretty much anywhere there's a beach. Sometimes it's even labeled as a disastrous environmental nuisance. Not to mention, it grows plentifully without using agricultural lands and the freshwater, pesticides, and fertilizers that farm depend on much of those these days. Thank you to Tim Stack for sending us this. There's solutions out there. There's solutions out there. We just need to back them. That's why I say vote with your dollars. Try to buy these products when you can. I just bought a new pair of shoes that actually Perry Ellis makes that's made from recyclable materials. It looks like leather, but it's fake leather. It's all like recycled materials. It's really cool. So we got to support stuff like this. And we could, if the whole world, or even just America, led the way in committing to this, if America just said, we're done with plastics. And again, part of a Green New Deal is not just shutting down these companies and telling those employees, well, good luck. You're not just going to kick a bunch of people working at a plastics factory out on the streets. You transition them. Rather than giving big bailouts to Wall Street, like look at COVID. Wall Street has gotten all these loans that are forgivable. Small business owners, myself included, have had to get loans and we have to pay them back. They're very low interest and they're over a long period of time, but it'd be nice if we got ours forgivable. Why did Wall Street get it forgivable and we don't? So we could be spending this money rather than giving billionaires tax breaks and bailouts and letting them fly their stupid cock rockets around this planet for 4 minutes. We could actually spend that and tell the plastic industry, you're going to get shut down. We're shutting you down, but you're going to get paid. We're going to transition. Even this plastic factory, okay, we're going to transition it. Maybe it can start manufacturing this algae or this seaweed-based plastic. And it would take a couple of years to do that, but that's the goal. It's happening. Everybody still gets paid the same. Only instead of making this awful stuff that's made from petrochemicals, petroleum-based products, it's made from seaweed and algae and sustainable stuff like that. It's very doable, folks. It wouldn't hurt the economy. It would actually improve it. It would give more Americans jobs. This is something you should all be begging for. Don't settle for these two awful parties that just tell you you got to take the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils is still evil. Don't vote for these politicians anymore. When they promise they're going to do something and don't do it, don't vote for them. I didn't vote for Biden or Trump. Trump was awful, and Biden was like, oh, we need a middle ground climate policy. We don't have time for middle ground, Joe. We don't have time. The earth is collapsing. We need bold, innovative legislation led by a Green New Deal, get us out of all these dumb wars, and let's fix the planet so that the human race doesn't go extinct. I don't know. Does that sound like something to fight for? Or maybe I'm just a crazy guy in an apartment. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. If we don't stop the environmental collapse, we're all dead. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. When I tell that to you, I want you to hear it. Nothing else matters. Nothing. We fix every other problem, but we don't fix that, it won't matter. Think of that when you're in some dumb fight on Twitter about this or that, or some YouTuber said this about that. Who gives a shit? We're on borrowed time. Borrowed time. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood. And go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.